People always ask me, how does your skin look so good? Well, my skin reflects who I am. So I use Vaseline lotion. It nourishes, it moisturizes, it feels good. Your skin is your story. Tell it with Vaseline.
At Simple Mobile, you get the no contract advantage. Those other mobile companies made you think you're in control, but you're really not. Simple Mobile is different. You can get a powerful nationwide 5G network, all without a contract. 5G capable device and SIM required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. 5G network not available in all areas. 5G upload speeds not yet available. It's the reliability you need when you need it. With no mystery fees, no activation fees, and no contract. Ever. Simple Mobile. Out with the old, in with the simple.
Millions of Americans are getting back to work. CareerBuilder calls it the great rehire. And we want to help you get the best jobs before everyone else. CareerBuilder gives you the competitive edge to get the job you want, at the salary you want, with the benefits you want. We even send job alerts, so your perfect job lands right in your inbox. Go to CareerBuilder.com today, or get left with whatever jobs are left. Find your next job fast at CareerBuilder.com.
Thanks for listening to the Odd Couple podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, 4 to 7 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. Find your local station for the Odd Couple at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching FSR.
Now let's get this party started.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
Oh, yeah. It is the Odd Couple with Chris Broussard alongside my partner,
Rob Parker.
No! Rob Parker on yet another vacation.
Wow.
In for him is none other than the super producer, Rob G. That's right, and we are coming to you live from the Fox Sports Radio studio.
We'll do it live.
So keep it locked right here for the next 3 hours on Fox Sports Radio, the iHeartRadio app, or Sirius XM Channel 83. However you may be listening, this is going to be tons of fun. Rob G has been preparing for weeks for this one show. He's been embarrassed the last few times he's actually been in the arena with me, in the ring with me, filling in for Rob Parker. So he's coming prepared with notes galore for today's show. So let me welcome in my friend. How I treat him over these next 3 hours is business. But he is my friend, super producer Rob G. What up?
What's up, Chris? Let me just say I'm very disappointed in you that as a man of the Lord and someone I look up to, you would start off by lying through your teeth for the first 3.5 minutes of the show. Very disappointed.
Hey, Rob G, whatever helps you sleep at night, my man. All right, if that's the tact you have to take to live with yourself after these appearances on the Odd Couple, then so be it, bro. I ain't mad.
Look, man, I'm just going to say that you were speaking of going to sleep, I'm going to put you to sleep with these verbal haymakers I'm about to drop on you over the next 3 hours.
I think you're going to be easier work than Vanilla Husky.
Oh, come on. That's below the belt.
Fired.
You say what you want about me and Husky and Big Short, but when you compare me to the Big Vanilla, that's where we got problems.
All right. Well, we got a great show, and we will let it play out over the next 3 hours. We got Seth Wickersham at the bottom of the hour. My former colleague, Rob G, I don't even know if you knew, at ESPN The Magazine.
I did not know that.
Really good guy. Yes. Love Seth. Great, obviously a great writer. Does a fantastic job of covering the NFL for ESPN. And he has a book out that is making waves, to say the least. It's called Better to Be Feared. And everybody in the sports world has been talking about it for the last few days. So we'll get him on at the bottom of the hour to go into that. And we got plenty of NFL and even some NBA. It's a lot going on in the world of basketball, too. So it's going to be a great show. Of course, super producer Rob G is with me on the mic. DJ Alex Teicher, a.k.a. Alex the Vegan. You know where he's at. He's in the crates. because it's a funky flashback Friday. And on the updates, of course, our man, Steve DeSager. Who's filling in for you as a producer, Rob G?
We got our man Brandon behind the wheels of steel, behind Alex, doing all the heavy lifting in the producer
All
chair.
right. He's sweeping up the dust from the crates that Alex is in. So, Brandon, welcome, brother. Do your thing. All right. Let's get into it, Rob G. A big game. I'm hyped. I am hyped. Been talking about it all week on television, on radio, and finally, we are 2 days away from, it's gotta be. It's the biggest regular season game in the history of the NFL. I mean, it's not going to be the most competitive. Chances are it doesn't go down to the wire, although it could, of course. You know, the Patriots aren't nearly as good as the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the hype. You got arguably the greatest coach of all time. You've got definitively the greatest quarterback of all time. You've got their track record of 6 NFL championships equal to any other franchise. And they did it in 20 years. And then you got Brady leaving, going to Tampa Bay last year and winning a Super Bowl in his first year. The storylines, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The storylines are overflowing. And so Rob G, it's the second most expensive ticket in the history of Boston sports. And Boston is a great sports town. The Red Sox, the Celtics, the Bruins. Nothing bigger than this game. And it's huge, Rob G. What do you think about the hype surrounding this game?
Chris, this isn't even a top 3 game this weekend. All right. This is the most overhyped sporting event in recent memory. All right. Because of guys like you, because of guys like Rob Parker, who want us to believe that this is a game that we got to tune in and watch. Now, I'm going to watch it because it's my job. All right.
Oh, no.
That's why I'm going to watch it.
Hold on. No, stop right there. Because you just told on yourself. Do you have League Pass, DirecTV, all that?
I do.
Sunday ticket?
Yes.
But even so, you're going to miss some games. You're not going to watch every game. This game will be Sunday night. I mean, you got a baby. You got a loving family.
I do.
There's a lot you could be doing.
There is a lot I could be doing. But I'm a
you
professional,
can front all you
so
want.
I got to watch it.
Nah, you dying to watch it.
No, I'm not.
You need to watch it. You want to watch it. Stop.
No. And I'll tell you why. This is the most overhyped game, a sporting event in recent memory, for 3 reasons. Number one, when it comes to good games and things you want to watch and storylines, you want guys, and it's a return game, who legitimately don't like each other or there's some kind of beef between each other. And if we learned anything over the last 4 days, it's that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, they're pretty cool. Like, their relationship ran its course in New England, and that's fine because that happens in sports pretty much everywhere. Like, Phil Jackson had to leave Chicago and the Lakers, not because he couldn't win or because he wasn't successful, because it was just, it was time. It was time to go. And for them, 20 years is a hell of a long time in football to be together. That's number one. Number two, you mentioned it right off the top. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers should roll over New England. You have a Super Bowl contending team in the NFC with arguably the best set of skill position players in all of football going against Mac Jones in, what is this, his 4th start ever? And for all the talk of the money that they spent in the offseason in New England with those 2 tight ends, they have probably a bottom 3rd in the NFL set of weapons on the outside because Jonnu Smith has been kind of vastly overpaid, if we're going to be honest about it. That's number 2.
He's had a few drops.
Number 3, and this is probably the biggest reason why I'm not as hyped about it as maybe you are, is when Tom Brady gets introduced in Foxborough, he's going to get showered with, oh, Tommy, oh, he's the greatest of all time. And that's fine. And he deserves it for what he did in New England. But you know what I'd like to see? You know what gets me excited when it's a team that's not my preferred team and I have no vested interest in the game? Is Let me see LeBron coming back to Cleveland. Let me see what that's like. Let me see Kevin Durant coming back to OKC and the buzz and the tension that's in the air because you know something might pop off at any second. Like, this is going to be a Tom Brady victory tour, and the Bucks are going to roll. And afterwards on Monday, because you know Tom Brady lost his voice a little bit, I don't know if you heard, he might be a little bit sick. You're going to get these random-ass headlines that say stuff like, oh, ill Brady has Belichick feeling sick as Bucks roll. Like something stupid like that. So I just don't understand why everyone is so excited for a game that is not going to be competitive between two guys who are pretty cool with each other, and it's not going to be as tension-filled as we hoped it would be.
All right. Just what I expected. A superficial take. And that's what happens with a lot of the guys that come on and fill in for Rob Parker. You know, they're prepping, they're overdoing it. They're trying to be too deep, and they end up being very shallow. Whether it's Husky, whether it's Ephraim Salam, George Reister, Aaron Torres, any of the cats I bring in here and mop the floor with when Rob Parker's out, who I mop the floor with on a daily basis.
That's elite company.
There is major reason to be hyped about this if you go beneath the surface. See, I'm older than you, Rob G. I've seen a thing or two.
I don't believe you. I've seen you on TV. I got more grades than you do. Are you sure you're older than me?
Well, I stay young. I use M-Drive. You know I use M-Drive.
You use M-Drive. That's a
right.
fact.
The brother's staying young and vibrant. That's right. But anyway, let me go beneath your takes. Your tapes are floating in the shallow end. I'm going in the deep end, Rob G. First of all, the emotion. It's a question. How will the great Tom Brady respond when there's number 12 jerseys all over the stadium? When there's a video montage on the Jumbotron, the scoreboard? Maybe even when Belichick, surly, emotionless, gives Brady a pregame hug. How's he going to respond? Will the emotion get to him? Will he be thrown off of his game? The great Peyton Manning said when he went back to Indianapolis, he could hardly function. He couldn't wait till the game was over. The great Emmitt Smith, leading rusher of all time, said when he went back to Dallas, he was literally sobbing like a baby in the locker room. Oh, there's no guarantee. I think Brady's going to do damage, but there's no guarantee because you never know how the big E is going to make you feel. Emotion, number one. That's the first reason. Let's see what the GOAT does with all the emotion. Number two, you talk about I want hatred. Just because you on the dark side doesn't mean the rest of America, the rest of football nation is on the dark side. Well, you want batteries thrown and mufflers thrown and all of that stuff.
I would love to see that.
You want stuff thrown on the field and players injured and it just gets ugly. Nah. It's going to be interesting to see Tom Brady take over Foxborough. Interesting to see the home crowd turn on one Bill Belichick.
Do you really think they're going to do that? You think they would boo?
By cheering the opponent? I'm not saying they're going to boo Bill, but by cheering the opponent, you have turned on the Patriots at least for those 60 minutes. Now, if they just cheer him before the game, which is something else we want to watch for, if they just cheer him at the beginning, that's fine. But if it spills over into the game, if Brady is lighting them up and the fans are going nuts, oh my, what a sight to see. And then, remember, Tom Brady, we can see history. Tom Brady he's going to. Let's keep it real. What's he need, 60-something yards?
He's going to break it in the first drive.
Yeah, break Drew Brees' all-time passing yardage record. And to do it in Foxborough for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my goodness. And then Willie, I've said, I'm on the record, 350-plus yards, 4 touchdown passes. Will he go for 400-plus? Will he throw 5 TD passes? Will Gronk Don't forget about
Well,
Gronk.
Gronk might not play.
If
might
he
not
does.
play. He's doubtful.
If he does play. How about Antonio Brown? He had a cup of coffee and a sweet roll, to use Rob Parker's phrase in New England.
Is Antonio Brown even allowed to call it a revenge game, considering the reason why he's out was his own fault?
Well, considering the way they cut him unceremoniously.
They kind of had to, though. I mean, you know.
I get it.
Yeah,
I agree. But still, whatever helps him get motivated.
Chris, let's just sum it up like this quickly. The other game that I'm really excited about is the Rams against the Cardinals. If those teams were going, those games were going head to head, Rams, Cardinals, Patriots, Bucks, which one are you watching?
Well, fortunately, I've been blessed. I've got 2 TVs, so I'll have them both. So I don't have to answer that question.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, it is the odd couple. Rob G coming out with a fury, but he walked into a vicious right hand and landed on his keister. It's the odd couple, Fox Sports Radio. Rob G in for Rob P. Keep that bad boy locked.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker. Weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and the iHeartRadio app.
People always ask me, how does your skin look so good? Well, my skin reflects who I am. So I use Vaseline Lotion. It nourishes, it moisturizes, it feels good. Your skin is your story. Tell it with Vaseline.
America is getting back to work. Wages are rising and asset prices are increasing, but interest rates remain at record lows with supply chain shocks disrupting markets left and right. With so much change happening, why would you stick to the investment strategies of yesteryear? Enter Yield Street. Yield Street allows you to invest beyond the stock market with an evolving marketplace of alternative investments. Yield Street's investment products are designed to target 3 to 15% annual returns across asset classes like real estate, supply chain finance, art, and more. The ultra-wealthy have long dominated these investments, but Yield Street's tech-powered platform and asset class professionals have teamed up to bring these opportunities to you with minimums starting at just $500. Invest beyond the stock market. Invest with Yield Street. Sign up today at yieldstreet.com. That's yieldstreet.com.
Millions of Americans are getting back to work. CareerBuilder calls it the great rehire. And we want to help you get the best jobs before everyone else. CareerBuilder gives you the competitive edge to get the job you want, at the salary you want, with the benefits you want. We even send job alerts, so your perfect job lands right in your inbox. Go to CareerBuilder.com today, or get left with whatever jobs are left. Find your next job fast at CareerBuilder.com.
All right, it's the odd couple on the Funky Flashback Friday, courtesy of DJ Alex Teicher, coming to you live from the Fox Sports Radio studios. And don't let age beat you. Go get M-Drive. Rob G was talking about just a moment ago how good I look for my age because of M-Drive. And I mean, it ain't just looking. I'm in good shape. I can get out there and hoop, get out there and lift weights, get out there and run. Or I like walking better, but still, I walk fast. And I can do it all because of M-Drive, the supplement for driven men that supports healthy testosterone levels and boosts your energy. So visit M-Drive for Men, fellas, mdriveformen.com for 20% off with promo code ODDCOUPLE. Don't let age beat you. Go get M-Drive. All right, Rob G, you mentioned earlier that, Brady and Belichick really don't dislike each other that much.
No.
I mean, the media is really playing that up.
Yes.
Like you would think they hate each other.
You would think it was Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah, the way it is. And I'm not, and obviously everything wasn't perfect. Obviously they did have their differences. They got very different personalities. And Bill was ready to move on. Or at the very worst, he was indifferent about moving on, which was a mistake on his part. So there is something there. But they do have a genuine respect for one another. And Brady has talked about it this week, how he said that he would not have been or become the quarterback that he did were it not for Belichick. And that he learned so much from him. Every week they'd meet, and talk about the defense and every individual starter on the defensive end. And Belichick would really give him his wisdom and pour it into him. And I agree with that. As much as I believe Brady if you had to pick one who's more responsible for the dynasty, I mean, it's Brady. But Belichick, that's not to diminish anything he's done because he did help create Tom Brady. Any pushback on that?
No. I think that they equally needed each other.
That's fair. And Belichick, it sounded weird. I mean, he may have given him more praise yesterday, was it? Or today, maybe, whenever he gave this quote, than he did in 20 years publicly with the Patriots. Here's what he said about Tom Brady heading into Sunday's game.
Do you think that you would have had the success that you have had here if Tom Brady wasn't your quarterback?
Yeah, of course not.
What about having him in that partnership, I guess, brought you guys over the top for those years?
Well, I mean, we talked about that for 2 decades. I think I've been on the record dozens of times saying there's no quarterback I would rather have than Tom Brady, and I still feel that way. I was very lucky to have Tom as the quarterback to coach him, and I mean, he was as good as any coach could ever ask for.
Rob G., your thoughts?
I'm flat. No, Chris, of course. What did you think he was going to say?
You shocked?
No, not at all.
Okay.
And even if they hadn't said it, even if he would have said, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, because the reality is we were together. Even if he said that, you can look at the Patriots dynasty as a whole and kind of point out, look, the first half of it was mostly Belichick. The second half of it was mostly Brady. With either one of them apart from each other, if you had a above-average quarterback with Belichick, he maybe wins 2 or 3. If you had an above-average coach with Brady by himself, he probably wins 2 or 3. You put them together, and it's the greatest dynasty we've seen in football history. So I'm not surprised at all that Belichick has come out and said, and Tom Brady's kind of said himself too, look, we needed each other for us to win at the level we did. It doesn't just happen.
Had Belichick not given Brady props, I think that would have been a bigger story.
Oh, yeah.
Because not that he ripped him. He didn't have to rip him. But had he just said, kind of what you said, well, I don't want to get into hypotheticals. We obviously did what we did, and who knows what would have happened, with another quarterback. It's something like that, which is kind of a backhanded.
Oh, we would have led the
criticism.
show with it. It would have been great.
Right. That would have. But just had he not been as effusive with his praise, and a couple days ago, he just went off and said, any metric you use, yards, completions, touchdowns, championships, whatever, Tom Brady's at the top. He said that.
Yep.
And the thing is this, though. Belichick makes a habit of praising his opponents.
Yes.
He praised Cam Newton before he became a Patriot. Now, he obviously liked Cam even once he was in New England, but still, before he went there, he would praise Cam. He's praised Larry Fitzgerald. He's praised Ed Reed. This is what Belichick does. And so for him to do it for Brady, it really is just kind of par for the course. I think he means it. Don't get me wrong. I think he's sincere. I think he's being honest.
Right.
But here's the only place I push back on you. And again, taking nothing away from Bill Belichick. Those defenses were tremendous, no doubt. And Brady was not yet a star or a superstar for sure. So that's all the truth. But I don't know that you can say it was mostly Belichick. And here's why. Because with that same team, before Brady got there, Belichick wasn't doing nothing. They were 5-11, Rob G, the year before that, with Drew Bledsoe, a Pro Bowl quarterback. And Belichick couldn't do anything with that team.
Well, you don't think that...
That was actually a drop-off. They were 8-8 the year before Belichick got there, and they hadn't won as few as 5 games in 7 years.
Do you not think that once Drew Bledsoe got hurt, that Bill Belichick adjusted the way he coached and decided, you know what, I don't have a quarterback who I can trust to put up points. We're going to go extreme ball control, grind the clock down, similar to what Baltimore does now, shorten every game, and I'm going to trust that my defense and this quarterback, one thing he does do well, better than most people probably ever, is he's great in the 2-minute drill. So if we're close and you can get us in that field goal, then we're going to win a lot of games.
Yes.
Because that's basically what they did for the first 3 years.
But Belichick also was always a defensive coach. Always. Right? Like that wasn't anything new. Now, he had to be convinced that defense is important. We always hear from Rob Parker. He was a defensive coordinator on 2 of those Super Bowl championships with the New York Giants.
Yeah, but if you got, a Corvette in Drew Bledsoe, at the time, Drew Bledsoe was like the guy or one of the guys. You're not going to drive him the same way you drive a Honda Civic.
The bottom line is this. They were 5-11 with Bledsoe. And actually 5-13 because they started off the season with 2 losses.
One of them half on Brady.
Brady steps in. And Rob G. They go 11-3 and win the Super Bowl. And then the next year, Brady leads the league with 28 touchdown passes. Almost 4,000 yards. Like, people act like Brady was just handing the ball off all the time. At that time, he threw for 370 or 3,700 yards in 2002.
And they were
28 touchdowns.
They were worse.
Yes, but but he produced, and they were 9-7. And then the next year, he goes 23 touchdowns, then 28 touchdowns, and they go 14-2 both of those years and win Super Bowls. So my point, and then the next year he throws for over 4,000 yards. Like, this notion that Brady, like I said, was just handing the ball off and it was all defense, that's not accurate. So that's where I'd push back a little bit on what you said. And again, Belichick deserves a ton of credit. I've said he's the GOAT coach. But it's always the player. And Tom Brady was the player. All right, speaking of a player, we got our man Seth Wickersham coming up. He's the author of the book, Better to Be Feared. Lots to get into with him. That's next. But first,
Fox Sports Radio has the best sports talk lineup in the nation. Catch all of our shows at foxsportsradio.com. And within the iHeartRadio app, search FSR to listen live.
Hey, I'm Doug Gottlieb. The podcast is called All Ball. We usually talk all basketball all the time, but it's more about the stories about what made these people love their sport and all the interesting interactions along the way. We talk to coaches. We talk to players. We tell you stories. You download it. You listen to it. I think you'll like it. Listen to All Ball with Doug Gottlieb on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Support for this podcast and the following message comes from American Express.
Craving inspiration for next year's beach trip? With Amex Platinum, it's never too soon to start thinking about your next vacation. With over 1,200 fine hotels and resorts properties to choose from, and more perks to make your stay even better, the daydreaming never stops. Oh, where were we? Travel perks. One of the many reasons you're with Amex Platinum. Visit americanexpress.com/withplatinum. Terms apply.
Support for this podcast and the following message comes from American Express.
With Amex Platinum, once-in-a-lifetime perks happen all the time. The high-end airport lounges that make layovers enjoyable. The dining perks that open doors to new restaurants. The 1,200 fine hotels and resorts properties with elevated benefits. Like late checkout, because vacations should never end early. With the Platinum Card, experience once-in-a-lifetime, all the time. Just some of the many reasons you're with Amex Platinum. Visit americanexpress.com/withplatinum. Terms apply.
Today on Newsmakers, we're talking with Catherine Schultz, Vice President, Tax and Fiscal Policy for the Business Roundtable. So, Catherine, there's a ton of noise in Washington right now about raising taxes on businesses. Why should our listeners care?
20 to 70% of the corporate tax burden is borne by workers through lower wages and reduced job opportunities, according to estimates by both government and academic economists. And shareholders, who include a majority of Americans, including seniors who have retirement accounts, pensions, or other investments, would see stock values decline due to lower future cash flows.
As we're starting to recover from the pandemic, would raising taxes on businesses impact America's economic trajectory?
While the economy has made tremendous progress since the depths of the pandemic, it remains on fragile ground, and everyone is not coming out of the pandemic equally. Congress should be helping to make it easier for business to invest in workers, innovation, and operations to strengthen the economy and keep America ahead of our Chinese and European competitors.
If hardworking taxpayers were to reach out to their congressman or senator, what would you want them to say?
No to tax increases. Elected officials should hear directly from their constituents that tax increases on job creators will move America backwards, resulting in less job opportunities for hard-working Americans, slower wage growth, and a less competitive economy.
You can learn even more at brt.org/tax2021. Catherine Schultz, Vice President, Tax and Fiscal Policy for the Business Roundtable. Thanks for talking with us. Paid for by Business Roundtable.
Is a former colleague of mine back at ESPN the magazine. We used to play basketball together out on Long Island at Basketball City in Manhattan. And he has just become a superstar writer covering the NFL. And he's got a great book out that you got to check out. It comes out October 12th. But all week long, everybody's been talking about it. It is called Better to Be Feared. It is the story of the Patriots dynasty under Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, and I'll throw in owner Robert Kraft. The great Seth Wickersham. Seth, welcome to the Odd Couple, brother.
To be honest with you, man, I think I got to hang up because it can only go down for me from here. That was too nice. Thank you, bud.
Hey, I'm known for my grand introductions on this show, so but you deserve it. Every word of it was true, man. It's great to have you on. Let's get into the book for a few minutes.
Yeah.
As you know, you've been doing a lot of interviews and you've seen it all over television. Everybody is focusing on the fact that Belichick did not meet with Brady in person before he left New England. Do you think that it's being overblown and that it really wasn't quite as big a deal as people are making it out to be? Or was it really a big deal to Brady and it really bothered him?
I don't know. It wasn't that. It was all Tom's perception of what happened. And, he went to Robert Kraft's house and told him that he wasn't re-signing in person. Robert Kraft thought he was coming over to, negotiate a new contract. But Brady told him that they weren't going to continue together. And then he wanted to tell Bill in person before it got public. Bill was unavailable, so they did it by the phone. Now, I don't know what Bill was doing. Tom didn't know what Bill was doing. But Tom later told a friend that he thought it was telling of the state of the relationship that he ended up saying goodbye over the phone. And, look, the phone call was terrific. Bill said all kinds of really kind things about Brady, but that's what he told a close friend of his that night.
Seth, what's up, man? It's Rob G in for the ever vacationing Rob Parker. Thanks for popping on. I was watching you this morning.
Wait a second. I just want to be ever vacationing. Like, how do I get that?
Right.
Me too.
I got to interview him.
Exactly. Now, I was watching you this morning on First Things First with Chris and our friend Nick Wright, and I think I recall you saying that had the Patriots agreed to give Tom Brady that extension to age 45 that he had been wanting, that he may have stayed in New England, even with all of the other things behind the scenes that he wasn't happy about. Can you explain why he would have been able to overlook everything just for that contract?
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady is not in New England right now for a host of reasons, but the main one is that he has been talking about playing until age 45 for a long time. And the Patriots, organizationally, it's not just Bill Belichick, it was Robert Kraft also, just didn't think that he could play at a high level until he was 45 years old. The two people who should have known better than to underestimate Tom Brady underestimated him. And so ever since the Falcons Super Bowl, when the dynamic in the building really started to change after that, but ever since then, Tom Brady has been wanting the Patriots to give him a long-term contract that would cover him until he's 45. And the Patriots just were never comfortable doing that, and it came to a head in August of 2019, months after Belichick and Brady had won their sixth Super Bowl together, and it was a contentious contract negotiation. Tom Brady nearly left camp in protest because he was so frustrated about it, and he signed a contract, and it was billed as a 2-year deal that might get him until he was age 45. But in reality, it was a 1-year deal with a raise and the ability to let him be a free agent. And as he said publicly since then, he knew that that's when his time in New England was done. And 48 hours after that contract was announced in August of 2019, he and Gisele Bündchen put their Boston home up on the market.
Seth, obviously people have focused on the Belichick-Brady relationship, and rightly so. But I thought it was interesting, too, some of the things that went on between Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick. You know, you have a story where Robert Kraft referred to Belichick as an effing a-hole, all right, when he used the words. Do you have a story where he referred to Belichick as an idiot savant? And so talk to us about those comments and what is and was, you know, the relationship between Belichick and Kraft.
Well, personally, I think that Bill Belichick would probably be very proud to be called the biggest effing a-hole in Robert Kraft's life. I think he'd think that's a compliment, not anything to be offended by. Look, Robert Kraft is probably going to make it to the Hall of Fame. And the main reason why is because he's done a masterful job, generally speaking, of keeping this group together. But that doesn't mean that it's not challenging at times from a managerial standpoint. And so, yes, in fall of 2018, I mean, look, it had been a tough season. 2017 season was obviously a hard season on Belichick and Brady. A lot of tension in the air in Foxborough. Brady skips the entire offseason program, not sure if he wants to come back to Foxborough and be a Patriot anymore because he was so mad. And in the fall, I think they started slow that season. So anyway, Kraft is at an Aspen conference, and he's in the hotel lobby, and he sees a friend, and he's just like, I hate leaving here. There's so many brilliant minds here, and I got to leave and go to Detroit to be with the biggest effing a-hole in my life, my head coach. It doesn't, just because he was venting, I don't think it means that it's like there's some fracture in their relationship where it's fundamentally different. I just think these are really hard personalities to manage, and generally speaking, Robert Kraft's done a good job of managing them.
Seth, last one for me. Now, piggybacking off that story, if it came down to it where I'm sure he wouldn't say this, but if it came down to it where they said, Tom Brady says, hey, it's either me or him, I'm just not comfortable playing with him anymore, our relationship's run its course, do you think that Bob Kraft may have chosen Tom Brady over Bill Belichick?
No, because Bill Belichick had a contract that allowed him to make all football decisions. And obviously sometimes Robert Kraft would make football decisions. Robert Kraft was the one who said that Tom Brady had earned the right to walk away on his own terms. And, I think that technically speaking, maybe Robert adhered to that because he gave him the out in the contract in 2019 that allowed him to be a free agent when maybe they didn't have to. But Robert Kraft had made it very clear that he wanted Tom Brady to retire a Patriot, but it did come down to that. And Robert Kraft fell on the same side as Belichick. At the Super Bowl, when the Chiefs played the 49ers, Kraft was talking with other owners, and he said, we want Brady, but not until he's 45 years old.
Yeah, and I got to be honest, as much as I like Brady, it's hard to imagine any team would be willing to sign somebody until they're 45. I mean, Tampa Bay, I guess, was desperate, and they did it. But
especially given that last season he had, it wasn't his best season there.
It's kind of hard to blame the Patriots. But let's end here, Seth. From all your reporting on these two guys, Belichick and Brady, how much do you think each of them, now that they're apart, how much do you think each of them is motivated by the desire to show the world or show others that they can do it without the other one? I mean, Brady obviously has already done that, but how much do you think both of them is motivated by that?
I think they both are, but I think it's a little bit different. I think that the feelings are a little more raw on the Brady side. I just think that the way that things went from 2017 on, it really still burns at him. Belichick is almost 70 years old, and the hardest thing in the NFL is to draft and develop a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. Look, he won the lottery with Tom Brady. He drafted a Super Bowl caliber replacement in Jimmy Garoppolo and had to trade him to San Francisco because Brady was playing so well and because Kraft was loyal to Brady. And And so when I look at Mac Jones, I see kind of something different than just someone who is filling a need on the football field. I think that for Belichick, it's like he's the latest iteration of a chance to have something that's inherently fleeting in the NFL, and that's continued success. And it's a quarterback-driven league. Bill Belichick knows that. And whenever he walks away, he has always wanted to walk away and leave the Patriots in good shape, especially at the quarterback position. He has way too much pride for them to fall apart as soon as he leaves. And so I think the stakes are a little bit different, but but believe me, Sunday night's game, Bill Belichick wants to win that game, and so does Tom Brady.
That's our man, Seth Wickersham, ESPN senior writer, author of the book, Better to Be Feared. It'll be in stores October 12th. You definitely want to pick it up. Seth, excellent stuff, man. We really appreciate your time.
Great to talk to you guys always.
All right, brother.
Thanks, Seth.
All right. They say a tiger can't change his stripes. If Urban Meyer wants to succeed in the NFL, he's going to have to. We'll get into that next. Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker. Weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and the iHeartRadio app.
It is The Odd Couple, Funky Flashback Friday, coming to you live from the Fox Sports Radio studios. All right, Rob, you know what? I watched every moment of that game last night between Jacksonville and Cincinnati, and I was not disappointed.
It was an awesome game.
It was a great game.
It was awesome.
Honestly, I thought it was well played.
Yes.
They aren't great teams, but it was well played.
I said on the Straight Fire podcast, which I know you listen to religiously every morning.
I never miss Straight Fire podcast.
That it was my favorite non-Raider game to watch, including opening night Cowboys-Bucks.
Wow.
Like, I know that it wasn't as too good of a teams, but, I mean, back and forth, it was a pretty clean game. It moved quickly, wasn't a lot of penalties, and those two quarterbacks were slinging it for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, look, you need to get out more clearly because to say that was the second best game of the year, I mean, that's a little much.
No, it was good to watch.
Game.
It was a good game.
And what you saw is that both of those quarterbacks, I think, are going to be very good. And they're already improving their teams. I get it. Jacksonville's 0-4, and they didn't, when are they going to get a win? You look at their schedule, it's pretty tough. But Trevor Lawrence was playing well, and I see that team eventually is going to be good behind his arm. And Joe Burrow, I mean, he was playing well last year, and they weren't winning before he got hurt, but he was playing well, and now they're 3-1. And I get it. They're not as good as their record, but they are 3-1, and they're a team that, you're going to have to reckon with. Joe Mixon obviously is a great running back, and it's good to see from those young quarterbacks. But I'm going to say this. Let's hear some sound. Urban Meyer was just heartbroken, to use his term, after the game. We don't have the sound, but I'm going to read his quote after the game, Rob G. I mean, he was just devastated. Here's what he said. I'm using his words, but it's devastating, heartbreaking. These guys, usually I'm not wrong about stuff like that. I just see a good team in there, speaking of the Jaguars. I see good guys. I see good hearts. I see guys that work. And I told them I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong about that stuff. This team's going to win some games. Here's what I'll say, Rob G. If Urban Meyer wants to be a successful NFL coach, and I think he can, even though we've talked about Nick Saban, Steve Spurrier, Bobby Petrino. I know I'm missing a few. Don't call Pete Carroll college coaches. He was an NFL coach before he went to college. But time and time again, we see these guys come from college, big, successful college coaches, and fail in the NFL. The last one that I can recall doing it was Jimmy Johnson, who came from college and obviously had tremendous success, won 2 Super Bowls with the Dallas Cowboys back-to-back in the pros. The thing is this, and Urban Meyer should learn from this, Jimmy Johnson had the courage and the patience to stick through the tough times. Their first year there, Rob G, they were 1-15. The second year, 7-9. And then the third year, 11-5. The fourth year, they won the Super Bowl. Fifth year, won it again. But he stuck through the tough times. Urban Meyer, Petrino lasted 13 games. Urban Meyer lasted 2 years. Spurrier lasted 2 years. Most college coaches, because they're so used to winning, don't stick through the tough times. If Meyer can stick through this year when they may go 1-16, real talk, 4-13 probably at best, then next year will be better. And then maybe a year after that, or I doubt next year, but who knows? Maybe they can contend for a playoff spot. But he's got to be willing to suffer through the pain of losing. He only lost 4 games in his first 54 at Ohio State, so it's tough. Lock it.
My Shiro always goes the extra mile, stretches every dollar, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings now at aceyourretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
News outlets will cover stories differently, but the Black Information Network is fundamentally different. A 24/7 all-news network of writers, anchors, and producers with the goal of keeping you informed about what's happening in the Black community. BINnews.com, bringing you news you can trust. Download the iHeartRadio app now and listen to the Black Information Network anytime, anywhere.
You care for the house, the kids, and our future. A Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.